I'm Keir Dobb, and these are 100 archaeological discoveries that each of you should know about. The skull from the quarry. The next incredible story is about the famous Piltdown man. We are going back to 1912 to the small village of Piltdown in England. In a gravel quarry, they found the bones of an ancient human who lived more than 500,000 years ago, but not just any human. This skull looked like a mix between an ape and a human, as if it were the missing link in evolution. Archaeologists, including the famous Charles Dawson, were thrilled. They even named the find after him, Eoanthropus dawsoni. More bones and a canine tooth, which definitely belonged to this ancient human, were found in the quarry. The Piltdown man became a celebrity and was considered an ancestor of modern humans. However, in 1953, the truth came out. It was all a forgery. The skull was stained and made to look ancient, and the jaw belonged to an orangutan. Even the canine tooth was painted. Many suspect Dawson himself of creating this forgery. There are other suspects as well, including the famous writer Arthur Conan Doyle. But the mystery remains unsolved. The Piltdown man became one of the most notorious archaeological hoaxes. As you can see, even scientists can be deceived. Do you believe this story? The Book of Kells is a medieval manuscript kept in the library of Trinity College and is one of Dublin's main attractions. This manuscript contains the 4 Gospels in Latin and canon tables written on parchment. The book measures 33 by 25 centimeters and consists of 340 pages. It was created at the end of the 8th and the beginning of the 9th century, and research has shown that it had 4 illustrators. A distinctive feature of the manuscript is that each letter has its own unique design, color, and meaning, like a secret code that has yet to be deciphered. The book got its name from the Abbey of Kells, where it was preserved from the Vikings in 814. It is believed that work on it began during the lifetime of St. Columba and continued for 2 centuries after his death. Historians offer several theories about the origin of this manuscript. According to one of them, it was created on the island of Iona and later moved to the Abbey of Kells. Another theory says that the writing began on Iona but was completed in Kells. There is also a suggestion that the manuscript was created in England or even in Scotland. Despite the variety of theories, the Book of Kells remains one of the most mysterious and magnificent works of art of the Middle Ages. Neolithic sacrifices. On the Eulenberg Hill near Magdeburg, Germany, archaeologists discovered a complex Neolithic burial with 2 monumental burial mounds, dated to 6,000 years ago. The 2 burial mounds, located 200 meters apart, contain wooden burial chambers with several burials. Since 2023, archaeologists from the State Office for Monument Preservation and Archaeology of Saxony-Anhalt have been actively studying Eulenberg in preparation for the construction of an industrial park by Intel. Eulenberg, thanks to its fertile soils, has been used for settlement since the early Neolithic period. During the Ballberg culture, 2 large wooden burial chambers were built. Burial practices range from simple grave pits to burials in wooden chambers under burial mounds, indicating communal or family burials. About 1,000 years later, during the globular amphora culture, the road between the burial mounds was used for processions, with sacrifices of young cattle and human burials. Pompeii managed to preserve history. In 79 AD, the city of Pompeii, a flourishing center of trade and culture on the shore of the Tyrrhenian Sea, met its demise. The inhabitants of the city were caught off guard by the powerful eruption of Vesuvius, a volcano that for many years had seemed like a sleeping giant. This eruption is shrouded in secrets and mystical omens, as even the very day of the disaster, according to some studies, was enveloped in an unusual atmosphere. Early in the morning, the volcano began spewing a colossal cloud of ash and gas, which rose to a height of more than 30 kilometers. Pyroclastic flows, a deadly combination of burning gas, ash, and volcanic bombs, instantly covered the city, taking lives and freezing everything around in the last second of their existence. It is estimated that between 10 and 25,000 people died as a result of the volcanic eruption. The central areas of Pompeii were especially hard hit, where houses and public buildings were buried under meters of ash and pumice. The volcanic ash that covered the city played a crucial role in the preservation of Pompeii. This thick layer made it difficult for air and microorganisms to reach the site, which resulted in the remarkable preservation of buildings, mosaics, frescoes, and even bodies. Organic materials such as wood, fabrics, and food, the streets and houses of Pompeii, frozen in time, provide an invaluable snapshot of ancient life, preserved for thousands of years. The excavations of the Villa of the Papyri in Herculaneum have revealed amazing artifacts, including mosaics, statues, and more than 1,800 papyrus scrolls that belong to the library of the famous philosopher Philodemus. These scrolls are a real treasure for historians and archaeologists, as they contain works on philosophy, ethics, rhetoric, and poetry written from the 1st century BC to the year 79 AD. The study of these documents opens new pages in our understanding of the culture and spiritual life of the ancient Greeks and Romans, illustrating the sophistication of their thinking and the breadth of their knowledge. Modern technology plays a key role in the study of these ancient texts. Methods such as virtual unrolling and X-ray scanning allow scientists to read papyrus scrolls without physical intervention, eliminating the risk of damaging these fragile materials. Thus, Pompeii continues to stand as a testament to tragedy and at the same time as a time capsule, providing a unique window into the past. The Stone Age may turn out to be the Wooden Age. Researchers believe that human ancestors were able to work with wood 3 million years ago. In 1836, Danish archaeologist Christian Jørgensen Thomsen proposed a chronology from the Stone Age to the Bronze and Iron Ages, which became the foundation of the main system. However, archaeologist Thomas Terberger is ready to rewrite history and believes that the Stone Age may be replaced by the Wood Age. He suggests that wooden tools have existed just as long as stone ones, that is, for 2.5 or 3 million years. It's just that wood decomposes faster. Primitive stone tools are characteristic of the lower Paleolithic, but wood has been found at only 10 out of 1,000 archaeological sites from that era. Terberger led the research on wooden objects. They were found in peat at a coal mine near Schöningen in Germany from 1994 to 2008. Among the artifacts were throwing spears and sticks, dating back to the end of the warm interglacial period, 300,000 years ago. These discoveries overturned the idea of human ancestors, who were previously considered simple scavengers. People who lived before Homo sapiens created tools and hunting weapons, cooperated for hunting, and knew how to butcher game. 3D microscopy and micro-CT scanner detected traces of wear on 187 pieces of wood. Until now, it was believed that only modern humans worked with wood. Among the finds were sticks, kitchen utensils, and household tools made from spruce, pine, and larch. The wood was cut down on a mountain, 2 to 3 kilometers from the discovery site. Analysis showed that Stone Age people carefully worked the wood, following a specific order, removing the bark, cutting off branches, sharpening the tips, and hardening them in fire. The wooden tools turned out to be more complex than the stone ones. A 3,000-year-old tomb of a priest. Archaeologists from Japan and Peru recently discovered a 3,000-year-old priest's tomb in Cajamarca, Peru. It is older than the pyramids in Egypt. The ancient burial mound was located deep in the Andes, far from the bustling cities. Inside the tomb, there are 2 stunning ceramic seals. One depicts a human face and the other a fearsome jaguar. And believe me, to reach this treasure, the archaeologists had to go through 6 layers of earth and ash. This remarkable priest was one of the first spiritual leaders in the Andes, and according to scientists, he managed the temples. This team of scientists has been digging in the Andes for 18 years, and every time they discover something new and exciting. 10,000-year-old chewing gum. 10,000 years ago, on the territory of present-day Sweden, a group of teenagers chewed birch resin, just like modern kids chew gum. They could never have imagined that in the future, scientists would analyze the remnants they had chewed and find out many interesting facts about their diet, lifestyle, and even their health. 3 pieces of birch pitch, which was used in the Stone Age as glue, were found in the 1990s at a place called Husebyklev. Analysis of microbial DNA in the resin showed a high level of bacteria associated with gum diseases, such as Treponema denticola and Streptococcus aeruginosus. The study of these samples showed that ancient teenagers suffered from cavities and periodontitis, and also ate deer, trout, hazelnuts, and processed fox and wolf fur. Scientists also found traces of birds and other animals, indicating their use for food and for processing bones into tools. Traces of mistletoe were found in the gums of the samples, which suggests the possible use of this plant in medicine or as a poison for arrowheads. This discovery provides a unique insight into the life of hunter-gatherers on the west coast of Scandinavia, 9,700 years ago. 9,000.
700 лет назад.
We can learn about their diet and dental problems. And we're talking here about a very old piece of chewing gum that children used to chew. And thanks to modern technology, we are already able to tell so much about the lifestyle of people who lived 12,000 years ago. Ancient campaign slogans. In ancient Pompeii, archaeologists discovered unique campaign slogans dating back more than 2,000 years. These inscriptions may have belonged to Aulus Rustinus, Ver, who was running for the position of a dial, a post responsible for maintaining city structures. What is unusual is that the slogans were placed inside the house, rather than outside as was customary at the time. Scholars have suggested that this may indicate that the man held dinners in his house to bribe voters, and the slogans served as part of the decor and as reminders of his candidacy. The discovery shows how important it was for candidates to win the trust of citizens, even if it meant resorting to certain methods. Bribery? Considering that the house of Aulus Rustius Verus was one of the most luxurious in Pompeii, and that he had close ties with the imperial dynasty, scholars believe that he did indeed become an aedile. A skeleton with an intact brain. Imagine a giant mound covering 45 hectares, which looks like a heart in aerial photographs. It's not called the heart of Western Anatolia for nothing. And now, the most interesting part. For the first time in the history of Turkish archaeology, scientists have discovered well-preserved remains of skin, as well as remnants of a brain. Imagine, brain remnants that are already 3,700 years old. Discoveries of such antiquity are truly incredible. So who were these people? It was a young guy, about 15 to 18 years old, and a middle-aged man. Apparently their house was set on fire during the Bronze Age, and they didn't manage to escape. It's frightening to imagine that it was precisely because of this fire that their remains were so well preserved. This amazing burial mound was the real capital of its region in ancient times. But around 1700 BC, it was completely destroyed as a result of an attack. And now the main question: how is this possible? How could remnants of brain and skin have been preserved for such a long time? Thanks to the extremely high temperatures of the fire, this is truly a unique and rare discovery. Sigiriya Fortress, Sri Lanka. In the very heart of Sri Lanka, atop a massive stone plateau, rises the ancient Sigiriya Fortress. This place, surrounded by legends, is one of the most striking architectural and cultural landmarks of the island. It is believed that Sigiriya was built in the 5th century AD by King Kashyapa as a royal residence. The ascent to the top takes visitors between majestic lion paws, a symbol of power and authority. Amazing frescoes have been preserved on the mountain walls, depicting cloud maidens, mysterious beauties whose story still sparks debate among scholars. There are also gardens and pools at the top, demonstrating the level of engineering skill of the ancient builders. Sigiriya is not only a historical heritage site, but also a place for meditation and inspiration. The view from the top of the Sri Lankan jungle is an unforgettable sight, reminding us of the power of nature and human culture. America was discovered 7,000 years earlier. The new study's authors are from the University of Bournemouth in the UK. They presented evidence pointing to the fact that the first people settled in North America not 14,000, but at least 23,000 years ago. This date was determined based on the analysis of ancient human footprints and fossilized plants. Until recently, it was believed that humans appeared on the continent through a corridor formed by melting ice 14,000 years ago. Scientists claim that in the early 21st century, there were hypotheses about an earlier settlement of the continent. The radiocarbon analysis of seeds found near human footprints was criticized. It was claimed that the seeds could have absorbed old salty water, which would have distorted the dating results. To refute this theory, the researchers used flow cytometry, a method usually applied for analyzing human cells. This method allowed scientists to isolate and study individual particles of vegetation. The second method, optically stimulated luminescence, also confirmed the antiquity of the traces, based on dating grains of ancient plants. Thus, the new analytical methods confirmed the previous conclusions of scientists, indicating that the history of the first inhabitants of North America needs to be reconsidered. Stone faces. Due to drought in a Brazilian region, the water level in the Amazon River reached a record low. This led to the discovery of faces and other figures engraved on an ancient stone that is more than 2,000 years old. These petroglyphs, including images of animals and other natural forms, were found on the banks of the Rio Negro at an archaeological site known as Ponto das Lajes. Researchers estimate that the drawings are between 1,000 and 2,000 years old. On the stones, in addition to images of faces and water, there are also grooves indicating that the site was used for making stone tools. Archaeologists discovered 25 groups of engravings on a single rock. The find indicates that this place was used for sharpening various tools. In addition, shards of ceramics were found at this site. Although Ponto das Lajes is recognized as an archaeological monument, the petroglyphs have not yet been studied. And what other secrets do you think the Amazon hides? Share your thoughts in the comments. Discovery of Noah's Ark. In 1959, Captain İlkan Duru Durupanar, while working on aerial photography for NATO in Turkey, made an unexpected discovery. At an altitude of 2,000 meters, he noticed unusual geological formations, resembling the outlines of a giant ship. This discovery sparked a lot of controversy and speculation that the remains found could be Noah's Ark. The discovery attracted the attention of both scientists and adventurers. Despite numerous expeditions and studies in the following years, it has still not been possible to find definitive evidence confirming the biblical story of the Ark. However, this region continues to be a subject of scientific interest. To support the possibility of real events like the biblical flood, geological studies in the Black Sea region have shown that about 6,000 years ago, a catastrophic flooding did indeed occur. This could have been caused by the massive melting of glaciers, which led to a significant rise in global sea level. In addition, clay tablets dating from the same period were found in Mesopotamia. One of these tablets describes the story of the Great Flood and the rescue of various species of animals on a ship, which has notable parallels with the story of Noah from the Bible. These findings indicate that the themes of a global catastrophe and salvation on a ship may have deep historical roots, permeating many cultures and civilizations. Luxurious artifacts in China. Get ready for a magical journey into the past, specifically to the era of the Shang Dynasty, which flourished in China from 1600 to 1046 BC. This state is not just a fabrication, but is confirmed by discoveries and even records from that time. And it seems we've just been lucky enough to open new, intriguing pages of this history. Recently, the National Cultural Heritage Administration of China presented new archaeological discoveries that have literally transformed our understanding of the Shang Dynasty. And all this is thanks to the excavations in Shan Province, where Jiagu is located, a site filled with ancient treasures, the leading place among all locations associated with the Shang. Feel the grandeur of this place. Massive earthen structures, tombs, kilns, and ruins. All of this is spread across 11 neighboring hills. This is the true golden heart of the Shang Dynasty. And here are our main highlights. 9 burial clusters of noble people, including 3 groups of large tombs, arranged in the shape of the Chinese character Jia. This kind of settles all questions and secures Jiagu's status as the main cemetery of the Shang Dynasty. But wait, there are even more amazing discoveries here. Remains of chariots and horse skeletons. This is incredibly important for studying the origin of chariots in China and the customs surrounding how they were stored. But that's not all. Numerous jade artifacts, bone tools, oracle bones, and even pottery. And here's the most important thing. The discovery of the central settlement and large tombs confirms the existence of a highly developed bronze civilization in northern Shanxi during the late Shang Dynasty, which has changed our understanding of that era. All these discoveries help us better understand the structure of states at that time, cultural exchanges, and interactions between different regions. The tomb in the last king of the Anunnaki, Gilgamesh, king of Uruk, is one of the most important and mysterious figures in the history of ancient Mesopotamia. He not only became the central figure in one of the oldest epic poems, but also left a deep mark on culture and religion. Gilgamesh, whose name is still surrounded by mystery, was an outstanding ruler whose achievements became the foundation for many myths and legends. During his reign, Gilgamesh was known as a great builder, strategist, and warrior. He is credited with the construction of the massive city walls of Uruk, which protected the inhabitants from enemies and natural disasters. According to legend, these walls were so impressive that the gods themselves took part in their construction. In addition, the reign of Gilgamesh is associated with a period of economic prosperity and cultural flourishing, which made Uruk an important center of the ancient world. Gilgamesh became a central figure in mythology thanks to the epic poem about his exploits, known as the Epic of Gilgamesh. This literary monument, found in the library of the Assyrian king Ashurbanipal in Nineveh, describes the journeys and adventures of Gilgamesh, his struggle with natural and supernatural forces, as well as his quest for immortality. This poem is not only a major source for studying ancient Mesopotamian culture, but also reflects eternal human aspirations and experiences. Archaeological findings confirm the historicity of Gilgamesh. During excavations in Uruk and other Mesopotamian cities, many artifacts were found, including cuneiform tablets with texts and inscriptions mentioning his name. A discovered tomb is of particular significance and, according to some theories, may belong to Gilgamesh himself. This discovery, if it is confirmed, could be key to understanding the historical figure of Gilgamesh. Among the archaeological finds, special attention is drawn to texts describing the Anunnaki, deities who played an important role in the mythology of ancient Mesopotamia. The Anunnaki are considered descendants of the sky god An and the earth goddess Ki, and were associated with the creation of humanity and the management of its destiny. The theory of the Anunnaki's influence extends far beyond Mesopotamia, linking them to other ancient civilizations and even to extraterrestrial visitors from the planet Nibiru. Comparing the Nibiru theory with other catastrophe theories, such as the Great Flood or the fall of the Tunguska meteorite, demonstrates the wide range of hypotheses about the origin and development of humanity. The discovery of Gilgamesh's tomb could shed light on many aspects of the life and reign of this legendary king, as well as confirm or refute the numerous myths about him. Leather shoes from the tomb. Chinese archaeologists are restoring 1,400-year-old leather shoes found in the Astana tombs in the capital of the ancient kingdom of Gaogauchen. German experts are helping with the restoration. Finding such old leather or textiles is rare, as they decompose quickly when exposed to air. The shoes, taken from the archive of items excavated since the 1950s, are 24 centimeters long and consist of upper shaft and sole parts, sewn from goat leather with animal tendons. Archaeologists have studied the tombs for over a century. Since the 1950s, 456 tombs have been studied in 14 excavations, which have yielded about 10,000 valuable relics. The hot and dry climate has preserved many items that would have otherwise decayed, including 300 leather artifacts. Ancient shoes have also been found at other archaeological sites around the world. For example, hundreds of shoes or moccasins were found in a cave in Utah, which was inhabited about 850 years ago. On the shore of the Great Salt Lake, 207 moccasins made from animal hides were found, most of them children's. The soles of the shoes were made from a single piece of bison leather, lined with fur and sewn at the heel, which is characteristic of the Canadian subarctic style. The presence of so many children's shoes indicates a thriving population, despite people leaving the region due to drought. These shoes were made by the promontory culture. In May 2014, the oldest pair of pants in the world was discovered in China. Archaeologists found the remains of 2 nomads and 3,000-year-old patterned pants in Western China, supporting the theory that the transition from tunics to pants was a practical solution for horse riders. It's impossible to say exactly when people started making clothes because fabrics decompose quickly, but estimates range from 100,000 to 500,000 years ago. The first clothes were made from hides, fur, grass, leaves, bones, and shells. The oldest dyed fibers were found in a cave in Georgia. They are 36,000 years old. An egg with liquid white and yolk. In Britain, archaeologists discovered a unique chicken egg from the Roman Empire era that has survived with its liquid contents intact. The discovery was made in Buckinghamshire, along with other artifacts near a Roman road. It is believed that the site was used for ritual offerings. Out of the 4 eggs found, only one remained intact with liquid inside, likely a mixture of egg white and yolk. This discovery provides new data about ancient agriculture in the region. According to archaeologists from the Museum of Natural History, this is the oldest known preserved bird egg. Lost history. A long-awaited fragment of the famous Dead Sea Scrolls, dating back 2,700 years, was recently found. These scrolls, part of ancient manuscripts, were discovered near the Dead Sea between 1946 and 1956 and include 972 documents in various ancient languages. A third of them contain biblical texts, while the rest are non-biblical, relating to the Second Temple period. Interestingly, one of the 3 rare fragments dated to the period of the First Temple, which was thought to be lost, was discovered in the United States in the state of Montana. The owner of this ancient artifact said that his mother bought the papyrus as a souvenir in Jerusalem in 1965. This fragment is of interest to scholars because it contains only 4 lines in ancient Hebrew, beginning with the words, "To Ishmael they sent." Researchers suggest that this was an instruction for the recipient. The name Ishmael in biblical history is associated with the firstborn of Abraham and his maidservant Hagar, and it is quite popular. After a detailed analysis, experts confirmed the authenticity of the scroll and its age. This historical artifact is located in Israel, under the authority of the Antiquities Department. However, many similar scrolls are still hidden in private collections around the world. Ritual figurines. Built after 1325, the Great Temple served as the spiritual center of Tenochtitlan until 1521, when Spanish conquerors destroyed it. But thanks to the efforts of the Templo Mayor project in Aina, the history of this temple comes alive before us once again. Templo Mayor was not just a building. It was a place of worship for Huitzilopochtli and Tlaloc, symbolizing war and fertility. Today, its remains can be seen not far from the Zocalo in Mexico City. Recent excavations have revealed the Tepetlacalli, a treasury where figurines and various objects were found. These discoveries tell us about the ancient culture and rituals of the Aztecs. As archaeologist Lopez Lujan states, these figurines had special significance in religious rituals. A stone chest was also found, dating back to the reign of Montezuma I, which contained more than 186 relics. These findings are evidence of the rich and unique culture of the Aztecs. An ancient house in the Sinai Desert. In Egypt, archaeologists discovered a structure in the Sinai Desert that is 3,500 years old, identified as a royal rest house. The ruins of this fortified area were found at the Tel Habwa archaeological site. The palace, intended for the rest of the pharaoh and his close associates, was built from mud brick. It was part of fortified complexes built near the eastern gates of Egypt to accommodate troops. Dating has shown that the palace was built during the reign of Pharaoh Thutmose III, who was known for his military campaigns. The kings of ancient Egypt regularly conducted military expeditions to the eastern Mediterranean. The Sinai Desert was one of the routes used by Egyptian troops. The pharaoh's rest house was a strategic site, the center of the fortress where the ruler and his army would rest. Here, warriors regained strength and restocked supplies before campaigns. Ruins of ancient civilizations. Captain Robert Scott and his team came face to face with an ancient civilization beyond the icy wall of Antarctica. They found traces from before the flood and even captured them on camera. Can you imagine what it's like to see the ruins of an ancient city, pyramids, columns, and statues in the very center of Antarctica? This ancient civilization might even be older than the ones we learn about in school. There's proof of this in a map from 1531, where Antarctica is shown without ice. It's strange because according to our history, Antarctica was only discovered in 1820 by Russian explorers. Did you know that the North and South poles have switched places 171 times over the last 76 million years? And the last time this happened was about 12,000 years ago. That's why Antarctica's secrets remain hidden beneath a kilometer-thick ice layer. According to the latest reports, there is a vast network of passages and tunnels under Antarctica at a depth of 4 kilometers. The oldest river in the world. Everyone knows about rivers like the Nile and the Amazon, the longest and the largest river in the world, respectively. But do you know which river deserves the title of the oldest on Earth? It's not an easy question, but most scientists agree that it's the Australian Finke River. Just imagine, it's between 350 and 400 million years old. This majestic river starts in the McDonnell Ranges and stretches for 600 to 750 kilometers, ending its journey in Lake Eyre. The most amazing thing is that this river seems to forget to flow. It appears only a few times a year, after heavy rains. It's very difficult to determine the age of the river. It's necessary to study the surrounding ecology, mountain ranges, riverbed deposits, and many other factors. That's why the age of the Finke is only an estimate. If you look at other parts of the world, in North America, the oldest river is considered to be the New River. It winds for 547 kilometers from the Blue Ridge Mountains to West Virginia. Estimates of its age vary, but scientists agree that it is between 10 and 350 million years old. And in Europe, the oldest river is the Maas. It stretches for 950 kilometers, crossing Belgium, the Netherlands, and France. And it is estimated to be between 320 and 340 million years old. Mystical mysteries of ancient Egypt. Since ancient times, the heavens have inspired Egypt to create majestic monuments. The astronomical knowledge underlying the construction of the pyramids is striking in its accuracy and depth. The pyramids of Giza, built with astonishing precision in alignment with the stars of Orion's belt, testify to the extraordinary knowledge of the ancients in the field of cosmology. This precision leads to speculation about possible extraterrestrial involvement or help in the construction. Various texts, including the pyramid texts, hint at a profound connection between the divine and the cosmic, suggesting the possibility that knowledge may have been passed down to humans by more advanced civilizations. The complexity and perfection of ancient Egyptian architectural and engineering achievements, such as the ventilation systems inside the pyramids and the acoustics in the temples, inspire admiration and raise many questions. How were the ancient Egyptians able to so precisely shape and install multi-ton stone blocks without any apparent modern technology? Some claim that such knowledge could have been obtained from the gods, who, according to myths, visited the earth and shared their technologies. These assumptions are fueled by discoveries of unusually accurate star maps, surgical instruments, and other items indicating a high level of scientific and technological development. The discoveries of artifacts with images resembling modern flying machines and complex mechanisms add mystery to Egyptian history. Reliefs showing objects like helicopters and submarines spark debate among researchers. The ancient Egyptians were inspired by visions of the future or used artifacts left by more advanced civilizations as prototypes to create their own technologies. There is a theory that the ancient Egyptians possessed knowledge far ahead of their time, including the secrets of eternal life, methods for treating diseases that were incurable at that time, and ways to generate energy. This knowledge may have been lost or forgotten over the centuries, leaving behind only hints and references in religious texts and myths. The discovery of medical instruments, astronomical knowledge, and chemical compounds used in mummification supports the idea that the ancient Egyptians possessed advanced knowledge. Imagine for a moment that an artifact was found deep within the Great Pyramid, providing evidence of contact with an ancient civilization possessing technologies far beyond our own. The discovery of such a crystal, possibly emitting an unknown form of energy, could overturn our understanding of history, science, and the very nature of reality. This hypothetical scenario embodies humanity's eternal quest beyond the boundaries of the known and the desire to discover lost knowledge that could change the world. Burial of people together with dogs and horses. In the vicinity of Verona, Italy, archaeologists discovered an ancient burial site where people were buried together with animals, dating back to the pre-Roman period. Research published in PLOS One revealed that, in addition to animals used for food, the graves contained the remains of dogs and horses, which is rare in archaeology and raises interest in understanding the meaning of these burials. Out of 161 graves studied in the necropolis near Verona, dating back to the late Iron Age, every 10th grave contained animals. In 4 cases, the remains of dogs and horses not intended for food were found, which was especially significant for scientists. Attempts to establish a connection between human and animal remains through demographic and genetic data yielded no results, showing that the buried people and animals were not related by kinship. The burials were diverse, ranging from an infant buried with a dog to adults with the remains of horses. This diversity leaves room for various interpretations and speculations about the symbolic meaning of dogs and horses in ancient cultures, as well as about possible unknown burial rituals. The face and phallus of ancient Romans. Let's head to Spain, where archaeologists from the University of Alicante made an amazing discovery. They found an ancient carving on a rock depicting a face, a cornucopia, and, believe it or not, a phallus. This discovery was made at the castle of Tossal de la Cala. Just imagine this carving hidden on the rocks has been there for about 2,000 years. In those ancient times, around the 80s and 70s BC, this area was a Roman fort where the Romans defended themselves during the Civil War. On this mysterious stone, a human face is depicted, next to which a phallus and a cornucopia are carved. The carving is quite large, about 57 by 42 centimeters, but it seems unfinished because the upper part is missing. And why was it created, you may ask? It could be ancient graffiti or a kind of ritual symbol. For the Romans, the phallus was a symbol of male power and the security of the state, so its presence suggests a certain protective function of the carving. And the cornucopia, which is also depicted there, is often associated with Roman deities of harvest and prosperity. Let's recall the myth of Heracles, who tore off the horn of the river god Achelous and turned it into the cornucopia. So perhaps this mystical carving depicts a god or goddess embodying abundance, but that's just one interpretation. But you can write your opinion about this in the comments. What do you think? Why did they depict a phallus next to the face in ancient Rome? Did the Romans really believe that such a carving would help protect the state? Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. How did they protect graves from being looted? Throughout human history, there have always been cases of disturbing the rest of the deceased, especially when it comes to ancient graves. Often, valuables from crypts ended up in private collections, since the deceased were frequently buried with family jewels. In medieval European cemeteries, vandalism was a common occurrence, and wealthy families protected graves with metal grates, which later came to be called mort safes. These devices appeared in England in the 18th century. Ironically, during the Age of Enlightenment, cemeteries suffered especially badly. Until the 18th century, human dissection was prohibited. In 1832, the English Parliament allowed the purchase of bodies for research, but before that, an illegal and profitable business was already thriving, including the desecration of graves. The church reacted negatively to exhumation, proclaiming sermons about the torments of those whose bodies had been desecrated. People looked for ways to protect graves, hired guards, watchtowers, concrete coffins, and mort safes. But such measures were only available to the wealthy. The poor used stones, layers of turf, and even planted vegetation to protect the graves of their loved ones. In 1781, metal coffins appeared in England, but only wealthy citizens could afford them due to their high cost and the harm they caused. Mort safes came in 3 types: tall fences, cages with heavy stakes and large boulders, and mort towers, tall crypts with several niches for family members and numerous locks. These protective measures reflect troubled times, when even after death, the peace of the deceased was threatened by others' desire to possess a part of their history or wealth. What did the Lisbon earthquake change? On November 1st, 1755, Lisbon was shaken by one of the most destructive earthquakes in European history. The force of nature struck the city with unexpected power, causing a tsunami and endless fires that increased the destruction. The epicenter of the earthquake, estimated at a magnitude of about 8.5 to 9 on the Richter scale, was located in the Atlantic Ocean near the Portuguese coast. The earthquake occurred in the morning when most residents were preparing to celebrate All Saints' Day, adding a mystical atmosphere to the holiday. The destruction in Lisbon was colossal. About 85 buildings in the city were destroyed, including important religious, historical, and public structures. According to various estimates, the disaster claimed between 10,000 and 100,000 lives. Many died under the rubble, while others were killed by the tsunami that reached the coast shortly after the earthquake. Many believers saw the earthquake as God's punishment for the sins of humanity. This belief led to mass religious processions and public confessions in hopes of appeasing the heavens. On the other hand, this event prompted some philosophers and scientists to reflect on the natural causes of such disasters, which contributed to the development of a scientific approach to studying earthquakes. The restoration of Lisbon was taken under the control of the Marquis of Pombal, the Prime Minister of Portugal, who took decisive and innovative measures. Pombal organized the construction of a new city using earthquake-resistant structures and strategic urban planning, which included wide, straight streets and buildings resistant to earthquakes. These measures not only helped to quickly restore the city, but also laid the foundation for modern urban planning methods. The impact of the Lisbon earthquake on the development of natural disaster response methods was enormous. The approaches of Marquis Pombal to managing the aftermath of disasters and restoring infrastructure became the foundation for modern emergency management techniques. His actions demonstrate how important it is to respond promptly to crises and to take lessons from the past to minimize losses in the future. Despite significant efforts and achievements, many aspects of the Lisbon earthquake remain shrouded in mystery. Questions about the exact causes, mechanisms of the earthquake, and its long-term consequences for geology and society continue to concern scientists. These unresolved mysteries maintain scientific interest and stimulate continued research in the fields of seismology and civil protection. The grim history of the ancient columns. Sweden is a harsh country, and even against this background, there are especially fascinating and grim places. One such trio of stone pillars is on Gallow Hill in a nature reserve north of Visby. This place claims to be the only surviving medieval execution site in Europe. Veselisa Galbergi, located on top of a small hill in the municipality of Visby, is a creepy but historically important place, one of the few preserved since the Middle Ages. Built in the 13th century, it was used for executing local criminals. Tall stone pillars, surrounded by a low stone wall, supported wooden beams on which the condemned were hung with ropes or hooks. Veselisa was visible from the sea, serving as a warning of the harsh consequences that awaited criminals. During archaeological excavations near Veselisa, the bodies of about 300 people were discovered. All of them had been executed. Some of the bodies were found in wooden coffins, which was a luxury and indicated that these people belonged to the upper class. This shows that not only bandits and poor people were executed here, but also members of the elite. The largest meteorite on Earth. The mysteries of space have always fascinated people, and meteorites serve as evidence of mysterious visits from distant space to Earth. An example of such an incredible visitor is the Hoba meteorite, discovered in Namibia, which still amazes people with its size and history. Unlike the Tunguska meteorite, which left many questions and assumptions, Hoba is tangible evidence of cosmic journeys to our planet. Weighing 60 tons, this giant piece of metal, adorned with ancient rust, now stands proudly in an amphitheater built especially for it, and is one of Namibia's main attractions. The history of the meteorite's discovery began in 1918, when farmer Jacobus Brits, while plowing the land, stumbled upon an unusual boulder. At first he tried to uproot it, but after examining it closely, Brits discovered that it was an iron meteorite, whose composition was later determined to be 81% iron and 17% nickel. This discovery became a sensation, since little was known about meteorites at the time, and the farmer dreamed of hitting the jackpot. The issues of transporting the enormous visitor from space turned out to be so complicated that he had to forget about selling it. Since then, the Hoba meteorite, whose weight has decreased over time to 63 tons due to chemical erosion and vandalism, has been placed under protection and recognized as a national monument. Today, Hoba not only amazes with its size, but also serves as a living lesson in history and astronomy, reminding us how small and at the same time important we are in this vast universe. And although tourists continue to leave their marks on it, each scratch is quickly covered by a layer of rust, as if nature itself erases the boundaries between the earthly and the cosmic. The oldest human settlement in China. Archaeologists have determined that ancient people inhabited the area of present-day Ngari Prefecture in the Tibet Autonomous Region more than 50,000 years ago. Research at this site continued for about 6 years. In 2018, archaeologists discovered the remains of a Paleolithic settlement on a mountain south of Gage County in Ngari Prefecture, on the left bank of the Shikwanhe River, located at an altitude of 4,470 meters above sea level. These settlements are among the highest and most well-known to scientists. Senior researcher at the Institute of Vertebrate Paleontology and Paleoanthropology of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, Zhang Shaolin, said that the Melong Tagbug archaeological complex consists of 3 caves, the largest of which exceeds 1,000 square meters. In 2 of these caves, more than 10,000 artifacts from the Stone and Bronze Ages were found, including stone, bone, ceramic, and bronze items, as well as plant remains. In one of the caves, rock paintings made with ochre were discovered, depicting figures of people in the sun with vertical lines. Preliminary data obtained by photoluminescent spectroscopy and radiocarbon dating indicate that the first traces of human activity in one of the caves may date back 53,000 or even 80,000 years ago. A sword from the medieval era. In the city of Saula, Finland, in August, during pipelaying work near a medieval stone church, a local landowner discovered an iron object which turned out to be a sword. It was handed over to archaeologists. The sword was dated to 1051,150 AD, the time of the Crusades, when Sweden brought Christianity to Finland. It had a curved blade, a straight hilt, and a 3-sided oval pommel. In the same area, parts of a scabbard, blade fragments, iron objects, and human remains were found. Further research revealed the presence of burial structures and confirmed the existence of a large cemetery with dozens or even hundreds of graves. This is the only confirmed burial from the end of the Iron Age in this region. Interestingly, the funeral was conducted according to Christian customs. 2. A 2-meter statue of a man with a penis. In the southeast of Turkey, in the area of 2 ancient monumental complexes from the pre-pottery Neolithic era, Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe, archaeologists made amazing discoveries. At Göbekli Tepe, a statue of a wild boar was discovered, painted in 3 colors, red, white, and black. This monumental figure is set on a pedestal decorated with N-shaped signs, a crescent symbol, and images of 2 snakes and 3 faces, or masks. At Karahan Tepe, researchers discovered a statue over 2 meters tall depicting a man in an unusual pose, as well as a sculpture resembling a vulture. The Ministry of Culture and Tourism of Turkey presented these discoveries. Statues and other artifacts were also found there, including structures with phallus-shaped pillars and a stone head of a man. Some suggest this complex may turn out to be even older than Göbekli Tepe. Theopetra, cave time capsule. Just think, 130,000 years ago, people had already chosen this cave as their home. These are exactly the conclusions archaeologists came to while studying the Theopetra cave in the heart of Greece at the foot of Meteora. This amazing piece of land was formed between 137 and 65 million years ago. People found a cozy place to live in this cave, and its interior turned out to be exceptionally spacious, about 500 square meters. And what is especially nice is that the cave is so bright thanks to its huge entrance. The exploration of the cave began in 1987 and lasted for 20 years under the careful guidance of Dr. Nina Kiparisha Apostoliki. Originally, the cave served as a shelter for the sheep of local shepherds, but later it became a key site for archaeologists throughout Greece. And here's an interesting fact. Theopetra is the only cave in Greece where the historical timeline from the Paleolithic to the Neolithic is clearly visible. Such a scientific window into the past is truly rare. A mysterious cave. Scientists discovered a mysterious object in Antarctica using Google Maps. It's not just an object, it's a cave hidden beneath the glaciers. Scientists published a video on YouTube showing the vault of this cave. Some believe that the cave could have been man-made. The video shows a perfectly shaped vault, 23 meters high and 76 meters wide. Scientists noticed strange paths and steps at the entrance to the cave, which gives reason to think they might be artificial. Others think it's a secret facility for UFOs or a top-secret military base. There are also those who believe it's the remains of architecture from an ancient civilization. Mainstream science remains silent for now, but everyone agrees that with global warming, Antarctica will reveal many more secrets. Giants in the Lovelock Cave. The Paiute tribe, Native Americans from Nevada, have passed down stories from generation to generation about white-skinned, red-haired giants known as the Siteka. These legends were first recorded in 1882 by Sarah Winnemucca Hopkins, the daughter of a Paiute chief, in her book, Life Among the Paiutes, Their Wrongs and Claims. According to the legends, these giants were cruel cannibals. A particularly significant story is about a battle that took place at the site now known as Lovelock Cave. According to legend, in the early 20th century, archaeologists discovered thousands of artifacts in this cave, which gave rise to hypotheses about the reality of these legends. The Siteka, or Tule eaters, Tule is a water plant, used rafts made from this plant to cross Lake Lahontan during the last ice age. It is claimed that the Paiutes eventually united against the Siteka. Chasing the last of them, they drove them into a cave. Refusing to come out and fight, the giants were destroyed with burning arrows, which the tribe shot into the cave, causing a fire. Many of the giants died, and the rest suffocated from the smoke. Lovelock Cave, also known as the Bat Cave, is considered an ancient site that formed even before humans appeared on the continent. In 1886, local Native Americans told the legend to engineer John Reed, who was unable to begin excavations. Later, in 1911, miners extracting guano discovered artifacts which led to the first archaeological investigations. In 1924, the second excavations uncovered about 10,000 items, including duck decoys and unusually large sandals, which confirmed the stories about giants. Radiocarbon analysis indicated that the cave was inhabited around 1,500 BC. The debate about the existence of giants continues, but many scientists believe that these were simply people who were taller than average. The discoveries made in the cave, including a stone with calendar markings and much more, can now be seen in Nevada museums and at the Smithsonian Museum. An unfinished antediluvian structure. In the mysterious valleys of Lebanon lies Baalbek, a city that holds secrets from ancient times. A recently discovered structure at this site has added new information, confirming the unique significance of Baalbek for archaeology and world culture. For a long time, the megalithic architecture of Baalbek remained a mystery for scientists. The construction methods and the reasons for the existence of such massive structures had no parallels. However, the latest discovery offers new interpretations and opportunities for understanding ancient civilizations. Baalbek, located in the Bekaa Valley, is known for its important role during the Hellenistic and Roman periods. Since the conquest by Alexander the Great, the city has undergone significant changes, becoming a bridge between Eastern and Western cultures. Greek culture left its mark on the architecture and art of Baalbek, which can be seen in the distinctive features of its buildings. The Romans, in turn, expanded and strengthened its status as a religious and cultural center by erecting magnificent temples and public buildings. The most famous structures in Baalbek are the temples dedicated to Jupiter, Venus, and Bacchus. These temples are known not only for their magnificence, but also for the technical achievements embodied in their construction. One of the most significant elements is the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, a giant megalith weighing over 1,000 tons, which was never included in the final construction of the temple. The discovery in the quarry in 2014 only deepened the mysteries associated with these ancient construction methods. The findings showed that ancient builders used technologies ahead of their time, raising questions about the origin and spread of ancient engineering knowledge. Comparing Baalbek with other ancient wonders, such as Stonehenge and the Egyptian pyramids, we can notice common features in their logistical and engineering approaches. For example, transporting huge stones for Stonehenge or building the pyramids in Giza required not only physical resources, but also advanced planning and astronomical knowledge. Modern archaeological methods such as ground-penetrating radar studies and 3D scanning are opening new horizons in the study of ancient technologies. It helped with swallowing, breathing, and speaking. Polish archaeologists have discovered a unique medical prosthesis about 300 years old, designed for a person with a cleft palate. This defect occurs when the roof of the mouth does not close properly during development, and nowadays it can be corrected surgically. However, 3 centuries ago, people had to look for other solutions. The prosthesis was found in the Church of St. Francis of Assisi in Krakow and is the first of its kind found in Poland. It was probably custom-made for a specific person with a cleft palate to make his life more comfortable. The device was inserted into the mouth and filled the gap in the palate, performing functions necessary for a normal life. The uniqueness of this prosthesis lies in its design. It consists of 2 parts, a metal plate that serves as the hard palate, and a woolen pad for a snug fit in the mouth. The hard palate helps with swallowing, breathing, and speaking, and also keeps objects in the mouth, preventing them from entering the nasal cavity. This small device, about 3 centimeters long and weighing only 6 grams, was quite advanced for its time. For a more detailed study of the prosthesis, scientists used a special microscope and X-ray analysis. They discovered that the metal parts were made of copper with traces of gold and silver. The woolen pad contained traces of silver iodide, probably for protection against microbes and to maintain cleanliness. The Aztec children, Maxim and Bartola. The mysterious pages of history have always attracted people, and the ancient Aztec civilization is no exception. It was this interest that one inventor and manager, M, decided to take advantage of. He created an unusual hoax that first attracted attention in 1848. The story of Maxim and Bartola, the Salvadoran siblings, amazed the world. Their uniqueness lay not only in the rare disease of microcephaly, but also in the way they were presented to the public. After falling into the hands of the American manager Morris following a series of deceptions and manipulations, their lives turned into a show. Morris created an exciting story about children supposedly found in a lost Aztec temple and presented them as the last descendants of a sacred race. Dressing them in costumes with Aztec symbols and organizing public performances, he managed to convince the audience of their unusual origin. Interest in these Aztec children was huge among both ordinary spectators and scientists, as the world was then caught up in a craze for discovering ancient civilizations. Maxim and Bartol became stars, and scientists studied them. They met with presidents and kings, traveled around the world, inspiring admiration and controversy. But like all wonders, their fame faded over time. Attempts to revive interest in 1867 in London were unsuccessful, and gradually Maxim and Bartol faded from the public eye. Despite the unknown fate in their later years, the story of these remarkable individuals remains a vivid example of how human imagination and thirst for knowledge can create unique stories. Let me ask you a question. Do you think a similar story could happen today? And what would be the reaction of the public and the scientific community? Stela Merneptaka, the prolonged enslavement of the Jews by the Egyptians, and their subsequent exodus from Egypt, represents one of the most complicated chapters in the history of ancient Egypt. Although archaeological evidence of this event is limited, every discovery is of great significance. Some believe there is no evidence of the Jews being in Egypt during the time of the Exodus, but this is not true. The most well-known evidence is the stele of Pharaoh Merneptah, discovered in Thebes in 1896. It refers to the military achievements of Merneptah and contains the earliest mention of Israel. The stele defines Israel not as a state, but as a people in conflict with Egypt. This fact is interesting because Merneptah was a descendant of Rameses II, the possible pharaoh from the Book of Exodus. According to the Bible, the exodus of the Jews marked the beginning of the formation of Jewish statehood. Merneptah could have witnessed the rise of Egyptian domination in the region, which later weakened under Ramesses VI. During this period, new states were mainly formed by migrants from southern Italy, the Aegean Sea, and western Anatolia. The mention of Israel may confirm the biblical version of the Israelites returning to their land from the south. The wrong prayer. In the silent lands of Israel, on the grounds of an ancient monastery near Jerusalem, archaeologists discovered something unusual, a stone block containing an ancient text that is about 1,500 years old. This artifact contains a passage from Psalm 86 known as the Prayer of David. Surprisingly, the text was in ancient Greek, which was the standard language for recording the New Testament at that time. Visually, this stone stood out with a carved cross. But what surprised scholars even more was that the prayer was inaccurate. Where it should have said, "Hear me, Lord, for I am faithful to you," it was written, "Jesus Christ, protect me, for I am poor and in need." Most likely the author made a mistake because of his lack of proficiency in Greek, preferring his native Semitic language. The place where it was found, the monastery in Hyrcania, was built on the ruins of a fortress that was erected 2,100 years ago by the Hasmonean Dynasty. Under the rule of the Byzantine Empire, the monastery flourished, continuing its existence even after the arrival of the Rashidun Caliphate. Among other valuable finds, there is a gold ring with turquoise, probably intended for a child. The ring is decorated with the Arabic inscription Mashallah, from a magical remedy to a serious illness. In ancient times, these stones were worth a fortune. It was believed that they could protect against poisons. The Middle Ages were a very unusual time in our history. Palaces, balls, and poisons. The aristocracy even took poison in small doses to get used to it. That's when bezoar stones came in handy, which, according to people of that time, absorbed poison from drinks. They were usually turned into stylish accessories, rings and pendants. Here's a fun fact. A clever surgeon named Ambroise Paré decided to check if bezoars actually worked, and it turned out they didn't. Bezoars usually form in animals, for example, when a small tuft of hair gets into their stomach and starts to get covered with minerals, like a pearl in an oyster. Of course, nowadays these stones are only valuable as museum exhibits, but they still amaze people, even today. Taxila, Pakistan. Taxila is an ancient city located in what is now modern-day Pakistan. It is one of the most significant archaeological sites in South Asia. This city was an important cultural, religious, and commercial center in ancient times. Flourishing from the 6th century BCE to the 5th century CE, Taxila is known for its universities, which were considered some of the earliest educational institutions in the world. Students from all over Asia came here to study various sciences, including medicine, mathematics, and astronomy. This place also played a key role in the spread of Buddhism across the continent. Archaeological excavations in Taxila have uncovered numerous temples, monasteries, stupas, and other religious structures. Each of these buildings tells a unique story about the lives and beliefs of the people who lived here many centuries ago. Taxila was also an important part of the Silk Road, the main route connecting east and west. This led to a blending of cultures and traditions, which makes this city especially interesting to study. Today, Taxila is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it continues to inspire scholars, researchers, and travelers from all over the world with its rich heritage and deep history. How can artificial intelligence and archaeology be connected? Today we will embark on an incredible journey where the past and the present come together as one. Artificial intelligence will help us in this adventure by presenting a unique image that you won't find anywhere else except in this video. This is truly unique content. Our first stop is ancient Egypt, but not just any Egypt. It's an exciting reimagining. Imagine the elegant figures of pharaohs and their subjects cruising the streets of modern Cairo, not in chariots, but in shining electric cars. The pyramids of Giza are no longer just wonders of the world, but also centers of solar energy. And the hieroglyphs? They have turned into QR codes, which you can use to learn everything about the wisdom of the ancient Egyptians. Now let's move on to the Roman Empire. The Colosseum has become a huge shopping mall, And instead of gladiator fights, fashion shows are held there. Romans in elegant clothes are shopping, exchanging messages on messaging apps. Aqueducts now serve not only for water supply, but also as beautiful backgrounds for selfies. Our third stop is the Maya in the jungles of South America. Instead of small towns and villages, there are now giant skyscrapers and noisy shopping malls. But the old knowledge is not forgotten. Ancient pyramids now serve as unique scientific laboratories, and Mayan astronomical data is used for precise navigation in the jungle. But we can go even further. Imagine what Greece would look like if it had preserved its philosophical traditions and adapted them to modern society. Plato's Academy would become a global center for artificial intelligence, and Aristotle's Lyceum would become a leading university for the study of the cosmos. Or take ancient China, if Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism had merged with technological progress. We could see monks meditating in robotic gardens, or the Silk Road becoming a global network of hypersonic trains. These are the incredible possibilities of our journey through time. Artificial intelligence helps us explore these unique worlds, where the ancient and the modern interact and enrich each other. But this is only the beginning. Who knows what other amazing combinations await us in the future? For now, it's just imagination. But thanks to science and technology, you might be able to see some of these things in real life. Write in the comments what you would like to see in future videos. I will try to recreate ancient and modern life for you in photographs. And to make sure you don't miss this video, be sure to subscribe to our channel and click the bell. Lakes under the ice. More than 400 subglacial lakes have already been found in Antarctica, and each of them has been isolated from the rest of the world and the atmosphere for millions of years. This means that life there could be completely unique and ancient. Scientists have already drilled into 2 small lakes and discovered microbial life, but what happens in the larger lakes remains a mystery. After all, there is no sunlight there. That's why microbes can't use photosynthesis. For life to be more diverse, the water in the lake needs to move so that nutrients and oxygen are distributed evenly. On the Earth's surface, this is done by wind and sunlight. Under the ice, geothermal heat rising from the Earth's interior can serve as a source of warmth and movement. This heat can create currents in subglacial lakes, mixing the water and making it more hospitable for life. A figurine that is 7,800 years old. In the west of Turkey's Izmir province, in the Ulukak Mound, archaeologists made an impressive discovery. They managed to find a clay statuette of a female figure that is about 7,800 years old. Professor Özlem Çevik, who leads these excavations, emphasized the significance of this site as the first settlement of farmers in the region. This mound is one of the oldest settlements in western Anatolia. Archaeologists have discovered artifacts here that are 8,850 years old. For many generations, people lived here, building villages, one after another. One of the most impressive artifacts was a clay figurine of a woman found during recent excavations. Researchers had previously found such figurines, but many of them were broken. This is the third figurine found in perfect condition. There is a theory that these figurines represent images of gods, but some of them were found in a dump, which makes this theory less likely. It is possible that the figurines were used in various rituals related to important life events, such as the birth of a child or the harvest. New mysteries of the Saint Belek slab. Scientists have been actively studying the ancient Saint Belek stone slab, which is 4,000 years old since its discovery in 2014 in a French burial mound. In 2021, it was recognized as the oldest map of Europe. Researchers believe that the slab may contain clues to treasures, based on the drawings and symbols carved into it. This unique artifact was first discovered in Finistère, in western France, in 1900, but the mystery of the slab remained unsolved, and it lay in the castle for more than a century until scientists began studying it again. The slab, measuring 2 by 1.5 meters, is believed by experts to be a map of the Brittany region. Rivers, mountains, and other natural features are engraved on it. Interestingly, the indentations on the slab may indicate ancient settlements or burial mounds. When the engravings were compared with modern maps of Brittany, a striking 80% match was found. The study of this ancient map is ongoing. It covers an area of 30 by 21 kilometers and it may take scientists up to 15 years to fully study it. Excavations near the location of the slab have already yielded new fragments that were used in the construction of ancient tombs. 10,000-year-old chewing gum. 10,000 years ago in what is now Sweden, a group of teenagers chewed birch resin, much like modern kids chew gum. They could never have imagined that in the future scientists would analyze their chewed residue and discover many interesting facts about their diet, lifestyle, and even their health. 3 pieces of birch pitch, which was used as glue in the Stone Age, were found in the 1990s at a place called Husbyklev. Analysis of microbial DNA in the resin showed a high level of bacteria associated with gum diseases, such as Treponema denticola and Streptococcus aeruginosus. The study of these samples showed that ancient teenagers suffered from cavities and periodontitis, and also ate deer, trout, hazelnuts, and processed fox and wolf fur. Scientists also found traces of birds and other animals, indicating their use for food and the processing of bones into tools. In the Desna samples, traces of mistletoe were found, which suggests the possible use of this plant in medicine or as a poison for arrowheads. This discovery provides a unique insight into the life of hunter-gatherers on the western coast of Scandinavia around 9,170 years ago, allowing us to learn about their diet and dental problems. And we're just talking about a very old piece of chewing gum that children used to chew, and thanks to modern technology, we are already able to tell so much about the lifestyle of people who lived 12,000 years ago. A Bronze Age wooden well. Archaeologists recently discovered a well-preserved Bronze Age wooden well in Oxfordshire, England. The well was found during road construction on Benson-Ralph Road. John Boutroyd, the senior project manager, said that they expected to find an ordinary pit, but instead came across a preserved wooden post driven vertically into the ground. Further excavations showed that the posts were part of a wooden well. The damp soil contributed to the excellent preservation of the wood. The archaeologists documented the structure digitally and carefully dismantled it for transport to the Oxfordshire Museum Service. Samples of the wood were sent for analysis to determine its type. In addition to the well, the archaeologists found flint, animal bones, and fragments of pottery, indicating that the well was used for storage and waste disposal. Despite the challenging conditions, the team successfully documented the well. Soil samples will help create a more complete picture of the surrounding landscape and the scale of the settlement. The Pyramids of Giza. The grandeur of ancient Egyptian civilization is most vividly manifested in the Pyramids of Giza, standing on the Giza Plateau as eternal guardians of time. These monumental structures, built more than 4,500 years ago, remain among humanity's most significant achievements, demonstrating not only architectural mastery, but also the advanced knowledge of the ancient Egyptians in mathematics, astronomy, and engineering. In 2013, archaeologists discovered fragments of papyrus that shed light on the mechanisms for transporting limestone blocks along the Nile. These documents, written by the pyramid construction supervisor Merer, describe the complex logistics of transporting stones from the Tura quarries to the Giza Plateau. The use of waterways and specially constructed canals demonstrates a high level of engineering and planning. The Pyramid of Khufu, also known as the Great Pyramid, impresses with its astronomical precision. The orientation of the pyramid almost perfectly matches the 4 cardinal directions, which indicates the ancient Egyptians' profound knowledge in the field of astronomy. This achievement required not only precise astronomical observations, but also the development of mathematical and geometric calculation methods. One of the most fascinating mysteries of ancient Egypt is the secret of the vanished brilliance of the pyramids. Originally, the pyramids of Giza were covered with sparkling white limestone, which reflected sunlight, making them visible for dozens of kilometers around. This brilliant appearance not only emphasized the grandeur and power of the pharaohs, but also symbolized their divine origin. Over time, most of the facing stones were looted or destroyed, which led to the loss of the original appearance of the pyramids. For nearly 4 millennia, the Great Pyramid remained the tallest man-made structure on Earth until it was surpassed by Lincoln Cathedral in England in the 14th century. This fact highlights the exceptional achievement of ancient Egyptian civilization in the field of architecture and construction. The construction of the pyramids involved the use of millions of stone blocks, each weighing from 2.5 to 15 tons. The ancient Egyptians developed and used sophisticated techniques and tools for quarrying these blocks, processing them, and placing them with precision. Nubia, located to the south of Egypt, played a significant role in the history and culture of ancient Egyptian civilization. This region, rich in gold and other valuable resources, influenced the development of Egyptian art, architecture, and religion. The Nubian pyramids, although smaller in size compared to their Egyptian counterparts, demonstrate unique architectural skill and testify to the close cultural ties between the two regions. It is important to note that more than 200 pyramids were built in Nubia, making this region one of the areas with the highest concentration of pyramids in the world. Cave of Treasures. Archaeologists from the National Institute of Anthropology and History of Mexico discovered ancient hunting tools in the Cueva del Tesoro cave, located in the state of Querétaro. The cave was named the Cave of Treasures because of the huge number of ancient artifacts found there. Speleologists exploring the cave discovered a hidden chamber where archaeologists found ancient hunting tools, including an atlatl and wooden darts. The atlatl, an ancient spear thrower, was used in Mesoamerica and other regions of the world. This device increased the range and accuracy in throwing darts, as well as the speed and killing power of the spear. In addition to the atlatl, processed logs were found in the cavity, which may have served as multifunctional tools. Preliminary dating of the artifacts indicates that they belong to the 1st century AD. This means they were hidden in the niche about 1,900 years ago. The lost jewels of Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun's tomb, discovered in 1922, amazed people with its incredible artifacts. However, many of them have disappeared. It is said that some of the pharaoh's treasures may have been taken out by Howard Carter, who led the excavation. At a recent conference in Luxor, Egyptologist Marc Gabolde from the French university Paul Valéry University presented the results of his research. Based on photographs from the 1920s, he compared the artifacts with museum exhibits and auction lots. One example is the magnificent collar of Tutankhamun, which is now fragmented and scattered around the world. Gabold claims that its parts are in the Nelson Atkins Museum in the United States. In addition, beads from this collar were reworked into a necklace, which was unsuccessfully attempted to be sold in 2015. Other finds include beads from the pharaoh's headdress in the St. Louis Museum and jewelry in the British Museum. Another faience collar was previously in the New York Metropolitan Museum, but returned to Egypt in 2011. According to this investigation, it can be stated that the archaeologist Howard Carter stole these items. The documents indicate that he gave something to the surgeon Berkeley Moynihan. Victims of the Maya ritual. At the archaeological site of Moral Reforma, where the ancient Maya once ruled, scientists found 13 burials with elongated skulls. Yes, and these poor people were beheaded. I have often said that the Maya had a practice of elongating skulls, changing their shape even in childhood. It was a sign of high status, and all 13 of the newly discovered skulls belonged to men aged from 17 to about 45 years old. Miriam Martinez, an anthropologist, says, the skulls were cut off with a sharp object, although it's unclear whether this injury caused death or if it happened afterward. And one more interesting fact, some of the remains had red pigment on them. What it is and why it's there, scientists are still working on that question. Bactrian gold, Afghanistan. In the very heart of Afghanistan, at the crossroads of ancient civilizations, one of the most impressive archaeological treasures of the 20th century was discovered: Bactrian gold. This amazing discovery, consisting of more than 20,000 gold items, was found in 1978 by the archaeologist Victor Sarianidi. These treasures date back to the first millennium BC and belong to an ancient people who lived in the area of Tilla Tepe in northern Afghanistan. Jewelry, coins, figurines, and many other works of art reflect the fusion of various cultures from Greece and Rome to China and India. Special attention is drawn to the jewelry, diadems, earrings, necklaces, Everything is exquisitely decorated with precious stones and inlaid with the finest gold. Among the images on the jewelry, you can see panthers, deer, dragons, and many other mythical creatures. Interestingly, after their discovery, the treasures were considered lost for a long time due to political instability in the region. But in 2003, they were found in a safe at the Central Bank of Afghanistan. Today, this treasure serves as a reminder of the rich and multifaceted history of Afghanistan and its place in world civilization. Pyramids. A group of researchers discovered nothing less than 3 pyramids in Antarctica, and it seems they were not created by nature, but by the hands of our distant ancestors. Antarctica is now the edge of the world, covered in ice. But once it was an oasis full of life where even dinosaurs roamed, and our discoveries there are proof of that. A total of 8 researchers from America and Europe went on the expedition. They discovered 2 pyramids 16 kilometers from the shore, and a third one right by the water. The question arises, why don't we hear about this in the news? Many claim that this information is being hidden so as not to distract us from our usual understanding of the past. And what will we see when the glaciers melt? Is it possible that besides the pyramids, another sphinx is hidden under the ice? What do you think about this? Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The oldest human footprints. Was the past always the way we imagine it today? Get ready to see something amazing. I'll show you a photograph of tracks left by people and cars that are millions of years old. Actualism is a method in geology which states what happens now also happened in the past. In short, our ancestors could have left the same kind of tracks as we do. During numerous expeditions by Alexander Kaltepin to Spain, Italy, Malta, Bulgaria, and Turkey, fossilized tracks of our ancestors and animals were found together with ruts from cars, bicycles, and even tracked vehicles. If you look at modern tracks in snow or clay, they are surprisingly similar to those that the expedition members found in sandstone, tuff, and limestone, aged from 1 to 20 million years. It's just like a time machine. And one more thing. In the photo on the left is the track of a modern women's boot in the snow, and on the right is an almost identical track on stone in Sicily, which is 2.5 million years old. It seems that Our Lady from the past was just as fashionable as the women of today. So just imagine that millions of years ago, a fashionista in cool boots was walking along the roads of Sicily, or maybe even driving a car. And there are so many similar roads all over the rest of Europe, Asia, North and South America. And it wasn't just people walking on them, but also mythical trolls, hobbits, and goblins, just like in Middle-earth from Tolkien's world. Some of these tracks are 120 million years old, and the footprints of people and cars are right next to the tracks of dinosaurs. The healing properties of Stonehenge. Stonehenge is surrounded by an aura of mystique and ancient secrets. It remains one of the most mysterious archaeological monuments in the world. This monument, built during the Neolithic and Bronze Age, attracts the attention of researchers with its unique stones and mystical past. The archaeological finds around Stonehenge are striking in their diversity, from human remains to everyday objects. Among the most significant discoveries are numerous burials, which are believed to belong to people who traveled here from different parts of ancient Britain and even Europe. The skeletons found in the Stonehenge area often show signs of surgical interventions and other forms of medical treatment, which has led to the assumption that this place might have been used for healing. There are several theories regarding the original purpose of Stonehenge. Some scholars believe it was an ancient astronomical calendar, while others think it was a place for rituals and celebrations. But the hypothesis that draws the most attention is that Stonehenge was a healing center. This theory is supported by the analysis of human remains and artifacts found near the monument, many of which indicate that people made pilgrimages there in search of healing. The blue stones of Stonehenge, brought from the mountainous regions of Wales, are unique because their origin is more than 200 kilometers away from Stonehenge, which makes their presence here a real engineering mystery. According to some researchers, ancient people might have attributed special healing properties to these stones, which could have been the reason for transporting them such a long distance. Archaeological data and scientific research support the theory of Stonehenge being used for medical purposes. Bone analyses show that many of the people buried here suffered from serious illnesses or injuries, and may have sought healing from these mystical stones. This function of Stonehenge fits into the context of a wide network of ancient beliefs and rituals common among the Bronze Age peoples of Britain. Besides healing, Stonehenge may have been a community gathering site for rituals, ceremonies about seasonal changes, land fertility, and ancestor veneration. The mystique surrounding Stonehenge remains the subject of numerous discussions and speculations. The mysterious stones continue to attract researchers and pilgrims, and each new discovery only deepens researchers' enthusiasm, shrouding this ancient monument in new layers of mystery and speculation about its true role in the ancient world. The underground chamber beneath the pyramids. Scientists from Japan and Egypt conducted a study of the giant necropolis in Giza. Their attention was drawn to a site in the Western Cemetery. Members of the ruling family and high-ranking officials were buried here. The burials were in tombs with flat roofs, arranged in a row. There is an open area between them that had not been studied before. Japanese and Egyptian scientists used ground-penetrating radar and electromagnetic tomography to examine it deeply without excavations. The scan showed that at a depth of 0.5 meter to 2 meters, there is an L-shaped structure about 10 by 10 meters in size. The authors of the study believe that this is not a natural formation, but an artificial one, due to its regular shape and location. The researchers suggest that this structure may be part of a deeper structure. At a depth of 5 to 10 meters, the instruments also detected an anomaly indicating heterogeneity in the rock. This could be another tomb or a chamber with artifacts. Serrated stones. In the south of California, amazing artifacts were found that resemble bronze gears, which had previously been discovered in Peru. These stone gears are known as the California cogged stones, ranging from 2 to 6 inches in diameter and up to 2 inches thick. Scientists believe that they were made sometime between 6,000 and 3,500 BC. Looking at these artifacts with modern eyes, they may seem primitive, but these stones have different characteristics, such as cut marks, round indentations and notches along the edges, as well as patterns that resemble cupcakes. Amazingly, about 15 of them have holes in the center, often narrow on one side. Scientists have also discovered a curious anomaly. In the middle, there are perfect square holes, which would be difficult to reproduce even with modern technology. This suggests that their ancient creators were familiar with advanced technologies. The purpose of these stone discs still remains a mystery. Some entrepreneurs suggest that they were used for some kind of ritual purposes, but who created these stones and why remains an open question. Today, the prevailing opinion is that these gears were used as ceremonial objects, but their meaning and symbolism are still up for discussion. A pot with burnt porridge. In one of the oldest villages in Germany, Woldenberg, LA, 7 archaeologists discovered a unique treasure, fragments of an ancient pot. This find tells us about the culinary preferences of our ancestors more than 5,000 years ago. They also cooked porridge. Lucy Kubiak-Martin, the famous archaeobotanist, shared some impressive details. Chemical analysis of the fragments showed traces of grains, such as emmer and barley, as well as protein-rich seeds of mari, similar to quinoa. Interestingly, sprouted grains were found, which indicates a lack of knowledge of ancient grain drying methods. This is the first case of finding traces of food preparation on ceramics in Neolithic pottery.
Германии.
The name of Jesus Christ. While studying the remains of a man from Sudan, scientists from the University of Warsaw discovered a religious tattoo with a Christian symbol. These remains were found near the Ghazali Monastery, which dates back to the Middle Ages. On the leg of the deceased, who passed away about 1,300 years ago, a tattoo was discovered depicting a Christogram, a monogram of the name of Jesus Christ, created from the Greek letters Chi and Rho. In addition, the symbols Alpha and Omega were depicted nearby. This symbol first appeared in 324 AD during the reign of Emperor Constantine. Alpha and Omega are the first and last letters of the Greek alphabet, symbolizing the idea of God as the beginning and the end of everything. The tattoo's placement on the right leg is notable, as scientists say that's where the nail may have been driven during Christ's crucifixion. This religious marking indicates the man's Christian faith, but it has not been established whether he was a monk from the Ghazali monastery, since his remains were found in a nearby cemetery intended for local residents. According to the analysis, he was between 35 and 50 years old at the time of his death. At that time, this region, known as Nubia, included parts of modern Egypt and Sudan, and Christianity was the main religion. Although the remains were discovered 7 years ago, the unique tattoo was only found recently, and this is only the second known case of a tattoo in medieval Nubia. The oldest known human viruses. Researchers from the Federal University of São Paulo have discovered the oldest viruses in the bones of Neanderthals, which are over 50,000 years old. 2 Neanderthals, whose remains were found in a cave in Russia, underwent DNA testing. The results showed traces of papillomavirus, which is sexually transmitted, and adenovirus, which causes the common cold, as well as other viruses. Both Neanderthals were male. Experts have long suspected that viruses may have contributed to the extinction of Neanderthals. This discovery may confirm that theory. The study suggests that Neanderthals may have been infected with the same viruses as modern humans. It has also been proven that fragments of viral genomes can be identified in archaeological samples. Adenoviruses can cause various diseases, from the common cold to acute gastroenteritis. Papillomaviruses are known for their association with cervical cancer. The team that made this discovery plans to synthesize these viruses, like in Jurassic Park, in order to compare them with their modern counterparts. The remains were found in the Chagirskaya cave in the Altai Mountains in Siberia. They belong to a group of 9 people, discovered in 2022, who were relatives. Researchers were able to sequence the Neanderthal genome and found that the viral traces did not come from animals or modern humans. Archaeologists emphasize that viruses were not the only reason for the extinction of Neanderthals, but they may have played a role in this process. Viral traces. In the past, I talked about an artifact that 2,000 years ago, now and in the future, will have the same shape and method of use. I also talked about where people in the Middle Ages found unicorn horns. I recommend watching the previous video. Thank you for watching this video until the end. Goodbye, everyone.